Hi everyone, it's very cool to be here at Devoxx sharing with you my ultimate hobby project. So let's get started. I'm Erik, Senior Software Engineer at QSD, currently working at bol.com in the data science team. I'm quite active in open source with various homebrew projects, mostly IoT related. And furthermore, I'm happily married and have 3 wonderful kids. Now, since those same kids take up quite some time, I was wondering what to do with the little spare time that I've left, preferably combining all of the above into one cool project. That project is a digital adventure room for kids, sort of like an escape room, but with more focus on the story. So let me give you the recipe for an adventure room. The ingredients are a spare room, some paint, decorative items, audio and visual equipment, your coding skills and imagination, and most importantly, lots of hobby time. Now we mix them all together and boom, there's your cool room. Okay, I got this picture from the internet. I'm not that good of an artist. But frankly, while this looks pretty, it does lack something that could make it even cooler, namely an interactive story. So let me show you a video of the room that I created, and because it might be a bit hard to follow on the big screen, I'll quickly outline the story. We are in Pine Castle, which is protected by the famous dragon Firefly. One night, an evil wizard puts a spell on him and abducts him from the castle. The next morning, fierce knight John comes home, just as Princess Mary discovered what happened. Can they make things right? Let's look at the video. Should be sound by now.
Finally, the famous dragon Firefly. Grab all you want, I'll make you mine. Good, come to me.
So our dragon has been abducted, and now night turns into morning.
Welcome to Pine Castle.
It's very dark over there.
Did you hear those strange sounds last night? What could have happened? Maybe John and Mary know more about it.
Princess Mary, I'm back.
Oh, John, it's so good to see you. Look what happened to our beautiful castle.
Oh no, the roof collapsed. And where's Firefly?
The betrayed dragon who protects our castle is missing.
Do you think the dreadful wizard Heartbleed has anything to do with that?
I suspect so. We must stop him and save Firefly. Can you help us, player? There must be a way to...
Watch out, there's Firefly! Firefly, don't attack us!
We're your friends, remember?
No response. He must be under a spell. We should try to scare him away.
I do remember he's afraid of rattlesnakes. How can we mimic the sound of a rattlesnake?
Maybe there is something lying around here to make such a sound.
Well done! Firefly is scared away.
For now, let's try to think of a way to get rid of that nasty spell on him.
Pretty cool, huh? At least I'm very happy with the result. So let's look at the steps that got me this far. I started this project about 2 years ago. And at that time, the room in the back of my garage, the one you just saw on the video, actually looked like this and this. So it was time to call in the troops for help. My brother helped fixing the wall, my wife helped applying the paint, and even my son contributed, although that was mostly an A for effort, but still. Slowly but steady, the outlines became visible, some color was added, structure was sketched and applied, and finally, the paint job was done, yes. So meanwhile, I regularly visited recycle stores like this one to find cool-looking medieval items for the room. And by that time, I collected quite a few, so it was time for decoration. Most of the items are purely decoration to set a nice atmosphere, but some of them can actually be used to solve puzzles in the adventure, as you saw in the video. Now that the room looks pretty, it's time to design the interactive part. Now, even though this is a private hobby project, I still like to write the software in such a way that it's modular and can be reused by others. So let's have a quick view of the architecture. It starts with the adventure server, which has one or more modules, which in turn control various physical aspects of the room, like lights, audio, and video. And in the configuration, you can define the rooms. You could have multiple rooms per server if you want. Those contain adventures, and adventures in turn consist of a number of scripts. And in those scripts, you can define what action should take place at what point in the adventure. For instance, triggering one of the modules by turning on the lights, playing an audio file, or display an image. And last but not least, outside world events can also trigger scripts, like we saw with swinging the rattle in the video. Now, the adventure server is just still my local laptop for easy debugging, but the rest of the hardware is located inside the room. So let's take a look inside this mysterious red box in the corner of the room. Lots of equipment and wiring going on here. Let's go over some bits. First of all, how you actually get internet in the back of your garage. The Wi-Fi of the home doesn't reach far enough, and you want a separate local network anyway. But luckily there's Ethernet over power, which is the white box on the right, and the black box on the left is a Wi-Fi router that creates the local network. Now, nowadays, there's no cool project without voice control, right? So I've added that too with this Amazon Alexa Echo Dot. Now, you might think that actually requires opening up the adventure server to the evil internet, but luckily Alexa can send local network commands to a fake Philips Hue bridge, and you can in turn configure that one to do whatever you want. Hence the phrase, turn on adventure, as if you're turning on a light. There's also an actual Philips Hue bridge to control the lights, 4 bulbs that can be controlled individually or as a group to any color of the rainbow. Very cool. The only downside here is that the time between issuing the command and the actual color change can be a bit high for real-time use like this. But luckily, recently, Philips introduced the so-called Entertainment API that makes it possible to send streaming updates to the lights, preventing the overhead of network packets reconfirmation. So you can look at it as TCP versus UDP. I have not implemented the Entertainment API yet, but I think it will enhance the experience. Next up is video. Here's 5 Raspberry Pis, where the top one controls the bottom 4, who are each in turn connected to one screen. And they're also on a local network segment to be able to broadcast video from the top one to the others. You can use this to display different images on each screen by sending different commands to each of the Pis, or you can use a project called PiWall to broadcast one video to all screens simultaneously, like you see in the example on the left. I plan to use both of these in the future to create some kind of quiz puzzle, but as you can see, that is not implemented yet. And lastly, the audio. On the right here is a Pine64 single board computer that translates the audio commands into streaming wave data for the sound cards. On the left is a USB hub with 6 USB sound cards plugged in, that in turn are each having 2 speakers connected, for a total number of 12 speakers distributed evenly across the room. Now, the plan was to have multiple audio sources being played at the same time at any location in the room, depending on your configuration, but I could not find a project that handles audio dynamically enough, so I created one myself, called Immerse. So how does that work? Suppose this is a top view of the room showing the locations of the speakers. In reality, it works in 3D, but 2D is easier to explain. Now the player is in the center of the room, and suppose now we want the sound of an attacking dragon playing and moving in a circle around the head of the player, so that it really feels like the dragon is flying around your head, which actually is what happens in the video, but that's impossible to translate to stereo speakers. So if you want the real experience, come visit the room. Anyway, suppose the dragon at some point in time is at this location, and now the system should decide what speakers to use to play the audio. And it does that by calculating the relative angles to each speaker. So for instance, starts at this one, then this one, then this one. And when all angles are calculated, it can decide which one are closest and should be used. So in this case, that could result in 60% volume in the corner speaker, 40% volume the one left of it, and 0% at the others. Now, some point later in time, the dragon might have moved to this position, which is exactly the same as one of the speakers. So then that one will have 100% volume and the rest 0. And as you can imagine, if you recalculate this often enough, and Immerse does it every 5 milliseconds, so 200 times per second, you'll get the effect of a dragon actually circling around your head. Very cool. And Immerse can do this for multiple audio sources at the same time, mixing the resulting output per speaker dynamically where needed. And it also supports dynamic listener locations, fixed output to one or more speakers, live input from a microphone, dynamic volume management like fade in and fade out, and many more things, including writing your own implementation, because it's 100% written in Java using the Java Sound API. If you want to know more, visit github.com/erikmulder/immerse. Last thing I like to show are the scripts. They should be easy to read and write also for non-programmers, so anybody can create an adventure. And every line here defines an action that is parsed into a Java object that can execute that action. And in this case, this is the last scene of the video, but don't mind all the details, I'll highlight some sections. On the top is the metadata, like name, description, and what modules it requires. Then the real script starts, in this case with setting the lights, playing some audio files of the dragon screaming, for instance. And the last part plays the voices. Now that is a cool feature, you can still see it in a comment here. When you're prototyping and you want the characters to say certain things, and it's a hassle to record voices all the time, so actually you can just type what you want them to say, and then it uses the Amazon Polly text-to-speech service, and you can actually hear them say it. And after a while, if you're happy with the conversation, then you can record the real human voices to put in some more emotion. Now in the future, I'd like to extend this to a drag-and-drop Scratch-like interface that makes it even easier for kids to create their own adventures. So I hope someday my kids will surprise me with their cool adventure. In summary, what do you need to create your own cool adventure room? Visit recycle stores to get cool-looking items for a good price for your room. Get professional help where needed. Use the project as an excuse to buy lots of gadgets. And most importantly, use your imagination to come up with your own cool ideas. That's it for me, thanks. Enjoy the rest of Devoxx.